Are you signing in?
So this computer, that should be that one right there, right? So can I just close this for a second? Because I wasn't, let me see. It says recording, it says video. Zooms out, and make sure the camera's powered. Okay, that's strange. Why is the camera not working on this?
Somehow it's got to.
No, that's That's odd. So let's ask if Selena can see us.
I cannot.
Let's unmute it.
Hey, Selena, can you see us?
No.
Randy, can you see us?
I can see Randy, but that's it.
I see names, Portola Valley Meeting Room. I see you guys now. Hi, Selena.
Hi.
You're muted.
But Portola Valley meeting room is not on camera.
Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And meeting falls now.
We need Craig's help. Craig?
Okay, it's okay. We'll go join meeting. Okay, so let's put in the meeting ID. If you could use this one right here, not that one. Okay, so let me do it real fast. 8, 9, 6, 4, 4, 3, 2, 9, 3, 9, 2. Passcode 9, 7, 6, 2, 4, 2. And
That's a good idea. That's
Okay,
very
I'm
nice of
just
him.
checking here. Randy, can you hear me? Wave your hand if you can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you, Dale.
Okay, wonderful.
A little quiet.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah, Dale, you're very quiet.
I'll lean into the microphone like that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we now have a quorum. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We are going to go ahead and get started now that we have solved all our technical issues. Thank you, Howard. Okay, meeting's called to order. Let's do a quick roll call. And I see Lynn Iceberg, Dave House, no, Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Chris, Ray Rothrock, Jerry, Vic, yes, here. Bud, here. Bob, oh, here, Rob Young, and Randy, you're in the audience. I unfortunately can't count you as as being here, except in the
He's got
audience.
COVID?
What? Even though he's got COVID? Unfortunately, are you positive for COVID, Randy?
I am, yes. My whole family is and have been for a week. It's been a tough go. I've had no symptoms, but
There's Chris.
Ah, Chris, I see you. Glad you could make it. Thank you for participating. You're here, you just can't vote, but it's wonderful to see you. Okay, oral communications. Do we have any oral communications from anybody out there that would like to speak? I'd like to speak. But
I have a question. But when is it of interest to us about the fire maps from the fire district for Portola Valley? When they make them out?
when the new ones come out,
Yeah.
yeah,
that a-
we will probably review them at least in subcommittee. We may bring them to full committee, yes.
Do we have any idea when that might happen?
No.
Has the fire district said anything?
They have released a preliminary fire map with what's called Fire Mapper, but it had considerable number of problems with the preliminary air maps. And so they are working through that. When are they going to get them to us? I don't know.
Thank you.
Any other oral communication? Okay, I have just a couple of quick ones. I want to thank all of you who helped with the booth and communications trailer this past weekend at Wildfire Preparedness Day. Particular shout out to Ray, who got the trailer working, and to Jerry, who volunteered to drive it up and back. That was That was a huge effort, so thank you, Jerry, and we had a great participation from the committee, so thank you all very much for that. The next thing is I want to shout out to our subcommittee system, which is working really well. A lot of progress and things coming out, in particular on the EVAC subcommittee. I think Rob Young in particular has made more progress in the last month on the evacuation plan than we probably have in 18 months. And I know Randy is getting involved there with the schools in particular, so thank you both. Hopefully, if you saw Rob's note, by June 1st, we're going to have something out for public comment for an evacuation plan. So that is huge. Okay. With that, we are going to go ahead and proceed. If you all noticed, I'm sure you did on the agenda, I moved the town report and the fire department reports up because we have missed those the last couple of meetings because they were later and we had so many other things going. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the town report. And apparently Corey was going to give us an update on the internet. And I know Howard is here to talk about the AM radio. And then Craig hopefully will talk about the AM radio signs. So, Howard, is that not working? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that over. We're going to go back right now. Minutes. Again, thank you so much, Lynn. Great minutes. Do I have? All in favor? Great, thank you. Unanimous approval for. They are really good. Thank you all so much. Okay, now, do we have Howard who can speak to us?
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I know our communications, I wanted to add one thing. I wanted everyone to introduce everyone to Justin Bixby on our maintenance crew here. Part of it is I wanted to just have an opportunity to show the faces of Public Works. Right now, it's just me and two maintenance folks. And really in an emergency, you're likely to see me and Justin and likely Scott too. So I just wanted to introduce everyone to Justin Bixby. He's been with us for how long, Justin? 7 years. So he works on the buildings, trails, and your parks too. So thank you very much. So let's see, the first item here is concerning the internet options for backup internet. So Corey's not here, but she provided me a written comment to provide. So what we're looking at is right now our main internet provider is Comcast right now, and we're looking into Corey's looking to switching that to AT&T fiber. And then the backup, they're looking into some type of satellite backup. Don't know if that's going to be Starlink or via sat. Whoever the vendor is going to be, I think they're looking at cost and what the infrastructure is right now. So internally between Corey and IT, they are deciding. So is that enough information?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Rob Young, big project, so stay close to my thing. I took it out of the box this week and plugged it in and it worked. Didn't do anything. It hunted the satellites, it did everything. And I had 93 megabits download, way more than 5 Netflix. So there's 3,000 satellites up there now. There's 12,000 authorized. So there will be no dead spots in the sky. From a simplicity point of view, and go online and read about the different services and organizations that are using them, I would strongly lean heavily. Well, I don't know what it will cost a town, but Dale reports $100, $120 a month. That's what my fiber at my house costs $150.
figure out the cost. I don't know. Unbelievable. It reminds me of Macintosh in 1984. Plug it in, it worked. I mean, it feels amazing. I'm a tech guy. I was looking forward to digging into the IT, but it just worked.
And I will add to that, I've had Starlink for well over a year now, and I use it. I primarily got it as backup to another internet connection I have that goes out. Starlink never goes out. As long as you've got power, it's gonna be there. So even AT&T fiber goes out occasionally when they lose power. And again, the delay time, latency, much better with Starlink than any of the other satellite systems. So, again, this committee strongly recommends Starlink. So, okay, let's go on, Howard.
Thank you for that input. Okay. Let's see, next on the item is the update on the Cal Water site. So let me go back a little bit. So a while ago, I was asked to basically install the antenna up at the Cal Water site. And as where I'm going to ultimately get at is Cal Water has a concern with placing a facility there. And I want to go backwards as to how, just some history on how this occurred. So I was told basically to get the antenna up there. So I started getting quotes. And what it looks like is up on Peak and Cervantes, there's a tank area that they own. It's a plot of land. And the thought process was, number one, I was asked to, there was a meeting. I was not involved at that meeting, but there was a meeting and this was agreed to. So by the time I got into it, it's basically let's get some quotes. So I was just get some quotes and then also to test the internet, the phone lines there too. So we were using the phone lines that existed on the property already from Cal Water. So that took some time to coordinate. So, and then Ray, thanks a lot for the drawings. They basically, the equipment and the drawings consisted, I think it was 100 feet of trenching from the box to an open area, and then an antenna pole with an antenna and the grounding plane. So as we were going through the contracts with Cal Water, they were asking for more and more information, details, and then engineering drawings too. So we slowly started submitting those things. And then once it got to their engineering department, Don Smith then said, hey, wait a second, this is not what we kind of, what she envisioned. For some reason, and I don't know what happened in the past, she envisioned, oh, it was supposed to be an antenna mounted to the side of the tank to a handrail, and she didn't think there was a big deal. So now that she's looked at it, she was concerned of neighbors because about 10 years ago, there was a proposal to put a cell site up there. And the neighbors, there was a lot of publicity and concern from the neighbors, and the cell site got shot down. And so she turned to me and goes, oh, did anyone check? Because number one, we're concerned about the scope of work, but did anyone check with the neighbors? And it turns out that no one has checked with the neighbors yet to install this or have this facility there. So in speaking with Dawn, she has a huge concern that, they said that, they're doing this to help the town. They didn't want any bad publicity out of it. What are we going to do to basically check with the neighbors? And then also the concern about the scope came up too. So, where do we go from here is probably the question. I'm trying to come up with some ideas, and we'll probably have to work with Dale and Ray to come up with some ideas also. As to ultimately where it goes, how we're going to proceed. I had a couple of ideas of, well, maybe we put the pole and antenna in the right of way there, and then just have the equipment, the radio equipment, on their property. That's one option, but that does not solve the neighborhood issue that we have to do, and who does that. The other option is finding a spot of town land that's acceptable to put it at. And so some of my thoughts are, and once again, this is very initial without visiting the site, but we have a high spot over there on Old Honda, and Skyline. We own a piece of land there. That's high. So that may or may not work, but I don't know how. We have to think about what are the next steps. You know, what are our options right now, knowing that Cal Water is not really favored in this huge structure on their land right now. So I'm open for input and discussion on how to resolve this. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think Ray and I and probably Chris will work with you to find the appropriate solution. Chapman. We like the city right away very much. So we'll get back to you. Is that okay, Ray?
Yeah, that's true. There's just some consideration. You know, where you put an antenna like this, it's a vertical antenna, it looks just like the one that's out here. It radiates in all directions. And I've been thinking about that place up in Ola Honda. So that's well north of Portola Valley. So you're going to be radiating way further north. That's not relevant to us, and possibly over the hill, which isn't relevant to us. And this is 10 watts of AM, so it decays from a strength point of view very quickly. The reason why it is where it is because it's in central Portola Valley, and it radiates beautifully all over Portola Valley, including some of the nooks and valleys that are around. So as I think about it, I'm sure it would work for some of Portola Valley up at La Honda, but I wouldn't want to be sitting at the end of Los Troncos and expecting to hear it like they can hear it now. So we haven't tested that. That's just, you know, you got to think about the terrain and the distance and the power. Just throw that out there.
We'll work to give you Howard.
Thank you. And I know that, you know, we originally placed the antenna site here at Town Center, and there were probably some concerns, but maybe in this whole discussion, what to do with that site also, the existing post that's out there right now. So thank you very much. And once again, you know, on behalf of the town, I apologize if there's any, it was, you know, obviously there was some delay. Obviously there's some kind of communications between the town and the Cal Water that happened that basically they didn't their top didn't ultimately know what the final product was going to be. So, but hopefully we can move forward and find a solution. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Greg.
That's an ASCC.
Mike,
position.
Mike, get the mic, please.
I was just asking if the committee could reach out to the neighbors and get a sense of whether they'd be okay with an AM antenna.
I'm sure they can, but it's not my job. The ASCC's job. And
It's not ASCC's job for sure.
okay, then whose job is it? Chris?
Well, that's why Ray, that's why I'm asking.
Fine.
Well,
I'm not knocking on the neighbor.
so you're part of the Emergency Preparedness Committee. And one of the things, no, you asked me a question. Do you want an answer or you just want to tell me? So it's not your job, but I think it could well be the committee's job. So it may not be your job.
Yep, we'll figure that out. Okay, Craig, AM radio signs.
So the mayor and I talked about the signs and probably the best thing is that we'll at some point agendize it with ASCC. Dale and I have talked about a couple of different possibilities. I mean, what I would recommend is that you guys come up with your, 3 favorite. And then after we get through the housing elements and stuff, then we can agendize it with ASCC and see if we can move that forward.
Okay, I think we have our 3 favorites already, but I will forward those on to you. Well, this committee has, all we can do is offer some suggestions. There were two versions in the last packet. And essentially another one in the past week. We can forward all of those on to the ASCC. It's ultimately their decision. All we're doing is recommending a sign. I think it's very important.
I guess the question I was asking is whether the committee had had a discussion about the different signs. Because sure, the ASCC is gonna bring it to sort of a public hearing, so to speak. But I think having this committee discuss the issues, I mean, one of the issues that I don't fully understand, and Ray, you might have been involved, about FCC saying that this is TIS and it's not for emergency. And so like exactly what can we put on that sign and, you know, are there issues with what we put on the sign relative to the FCC? So I think we need all that stuff resolved before it gets to ASCC. Otherwise, I think this is just going to go around in a loop. And then I think it'd be interesting for this committee to weigh in on signs. I mean, particularly this sign, you know, the signs that you and I have talked about have been sort of these blue signs. They're going to be issues. People are going to have issues with signage. I mean, there's always somebody in the town who's got issues with signage. So I think making sure you guys have sort of a full discussion on it is worthwhile rather than just forward it to ASCC. My guess is it'll just go around in circles up there. So the more you guys can get lined up before it goes to ASCC, the better.
This committee has discussed this at length. I'm actually getting pretty tired of this continuous push back to the town.
Great. So Dale, then you should just submit it. And if it goes around in circles, then it will go around in circles. But I've given you my advice, but I'm not here to tell you you guys can do what you want to do. I'm giving you my advice.
Have we voted on it?
We voted 3 years ago.
My mind doesn't quite far back. It's true. I think it might be worthwhile to just bring it forward again, have a vote and refresh our minds. Yeah.
Yeah, a number of us weren't on the committee 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay, next.
But I have a question though. I could go back.
Yeah.
We talked about the antenna. Ray, do you have the antenna at your place right now in the air?
I do.
Did you get the neighbor's approval?
No,
Okay, so, but we do need to have the,
the reason why I bring up the neighbors thing and ASCC approval, because previous town manager, when Dale and I were up there marking this out and getting the quotes and doing the homework for it, said we'd have to pass it to ASCC. It is on, it's a piece of property in town, and we'll have to get a quote. So my job was to get all the technical stuff together, give it to the town, and I did. And what Howard got was the folder, and he didn't know that it, anyway, he wasn't part of that comment. That's why I think it's an ASCC thing, because I was told that here and it was. So that's why I did it. I'm happy that, by the way, this was approved as well. And that was quite a process. for me, personally.
I remember that.
Okay, on to the fire department. And again, we moved you guys up because we haven't heard from you in a couple of months. So I see both Selena and Chief are on the line. If either one of you would like to go ahead and give us a quick update.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Just an FYI, it was talked about in the first part when you guys are talking. And what I'm noticing, if you are not right on the mic, we in the public cannot hear you at all. Howard's microphone was fantastic. Craig's was good, but the second you guys start to talk to each other, we can't hear anything on that side. So just an FYI. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, it's been a couple months. So weather event, I gave the weather events pretty much every meeting prior to this last one. So fortunately, we haven't had the weather events to any extreme nature that we've had. We have this one going through right now, which hasn't posed, much of a problem at all, other than it sounds like Highway 35 now just got affected. Was closed this morning. Sounds like they have unofficially, sounds like they have like one lane open for the residents to get through if they need to, but for traffic, it sounds like they've closed it. I don't have the other details. We're trying to get that information right now, but add that one to the list, unfortunately. Let's see, our station projects were back up and running full tilt until this latest rain came in, but they're progressing well. Got bumped back a month or so. So they're still online to be completed before the end of the year, both the construction at Station 7 and the remodel at Station 8. I gave you the update as much as I know on Skyline. I didn't hear initially, it sounded like Bud was asking about the maps. The maps are not completed yet. Once they're completed, they will vet through us. We will advise our stakeholders, have some meetings before it goes to our board for approval. Then it goes to the towns for approval after that. So it's still not there yet, but there was some reworking that they were doing based on some comments that were made when it was presented to the board, to our board of directors a couple months ago. So no specific timeline on that. The last thing I had, probably heard through the grapevine that a few months ago now, I submitted my retirement paperwork to our board of directors at the end of June. We've already gone through interviews and my successor has been named. It happens to be on this meeting. So the current deputy fire chief, Tom Kasheri, has been named as my successor, the fire chief for the district. My last day in the office will be, I think it's like June 22nd. And Tom will be taking over after that as the new fire chief. Then we will be going through our next round of promotionals within the organization. So I was kind of giving you that at the captain and battalion chief level, and it will continue as well. So that's all I have.
Well, congratulations, Chief. We are going to miss you. And
Good morning, everybody. Tom Kasheri, good morning.
Tom. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Me too as well.
Okay, Selena.
Hey everyone. So some CERT updates. We had a CERT skills day. So it was our people who took the online portion in March, and we had 14 students go through that. So now we had about 6 scouts come and help play the role of patients. So I thought it was really great training. We're hoping to have another one in the fall, maybe in person, just because it builds a rapport amongst the students. And I just think that I like in-person events more. As well, we had a CERT advanced training, which was incident support and firefighter rehab. That was presented by Fire Chief Ari DeLay. He's fire chief in San Bruno. He's given this training before to our CERTs. It's where the CERTs support firefighters in the event of a large incident. They help with rehab, nourishment, replenishment, and it's a FEMA curriculum. So there's a classroom portion that we had about 40 students go through. We did 2 sessions. We offered it to our neighboring agencies, so Redwood City, Kings Mountain, and La Honda. We also had some San Bruno people and San Carlos. So we did 40 people, and then they had to go through a hands-on training. And we did that in conjunction with the Fire Academy for San Mateo County. We held it out at the USAR site in Menlo Park. It was great. So we only had probably about 30 of the people go through that training, but we had 10 that completed the training total in our group alone. So we had 10 people that were officially certified in firefighter rehab for us. My goal really is to have some sort of mutual aid agreement with our neighboring agencies to form a firefighter rehab team. We already have the equipment. We have people trained. I just think it's more beneficial since we are neighboring with Redwood City, Kings Mountain, La Honda, Skyline, to just work together and use our resources that way. Let's see. Also, too, I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers that have been helping so much. Yeah, the Wildfire Preparedness Fair was great. And I was at the fire extinguisher prop most of the time. So all the volunteers ran all the other booths, and I heard nothing but amazing things from a lot of the residents that weren't really aware about the programs going on. So thank you again. Also, too, we had the Young Men's Service League. We had a couple of young men with their mom going around interviewing people, taking video clips and pictures. So they're doing a capstone project through their school, and they're creating educational videos for us. So I'll push those out to you guys once we get them. Just messaging from the fair and emergency preparedness. Also, too, this Saturday we have May Day coming up in Woodside. It's an annual parade, and CERT offers the first aid, or mans the first aid booth with the trailer. So we'll be towing the trailer over to Woodside and posting up. So any available certs, please, if you're available to help man a first aid booth, it actually needs to be manned from 8 to 12, I think is when the parade finishes. They do a fun run and then a parade. And then afterwards, I guess they're gonna have a carnival again this year, which is great, but they don't need the first aid booth for that. And then lastly, what I wanted to let you guys know about is I am currently scheduling a chainsaw safety training. I want to emphasize the safety, right? Safety training for our community. Kings Mountain just had one up at the top of the hill from a retired Kings Mountain firefighter who just went up there for a few hours and went through all you can think of for chainsaw safety. And so there's been a lot of interest for our community. So I'm trying to get it on the calendar. I just have to confirm it. But so far we have the tentative date set for May 31st. It's a Wednesday and it'll be in the evening, hopefully start around 6 p.m. So once that gets officially signed off, then I'll be pushing that out to you guys too. And that's more on our ready side. So it's not, we're our certs are getting certified to use chainsaws. It's more of, let's let the residents know why we don't do certain things, why we don't want them doing certain things. And if they do have a chainsaw, how to operate it properly and safely. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much, Selena. And just so you know, Selena, our annual safety and communications day is June 24th this year. Same place as always. Okay. Any questions, comments from Howard?
No, isn't Dave Howell up there? Your member.
Dave, you can come on up.
Oh, I just wanted to thank Selena for, I did attend the Wildfire Fair and she did a great job at showing the community how to train for the fire extinguisher. And I tried it out too, and it was one of the best things at the fair, I thought. So thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, Howard. Thanks, Selena. Okay, we are now on to item number 7. And we're roughly on track. This is a recommendation for the AM radio protocol. Again, this came out of a subcommittee that worked really well. I don't think we had at least 3 meetings on this. And Ray, why don't you go ahead?
Sure.
Okay,
Great. I'll hope everybody out there in Zoom land can hear. The subcommittee, as Dale mentioned, has met several times. This has been an evolving issue, that is the AM radio protocols, because who has the authority to actually submit a message, a recorded message to the AM radio? It can accept recorded messages and transmit them on a 7x24 basis, or it can go live. And we have in the past put a pretty generic TIS, emergency town resident and visitors message on there. So what happens in an emergency? Well, who has the authority to make a change? Who has the authority to upload that change? And it might be a day when lots of things are going on and people are hard to get a hold of and so forth. So we put together, it's in your packet, a 1-page protocol that basically addresses this. And at the end of the day, if the EOC in Portola Valley is open or an ICS is activated, including a county or the Woodside Fire Protection District Sheriff's Department, anybody opens up an emergency situation here in Portola Valley, then essentially you could take over the AM radio and do something with it. We also added on it, I think an important thing is the WPV CERT organization. They were active, for example, during the floods and the heavy rains with sandbagging and stuff, yet there really wasn't an ICS or an EOC open, but that was useful information that could have been out there. So we've added them to this, as well as red flag alerts and other things. So what happens when that occurs? So now we've got a situation where we need to get the word out. And so who has the authority? At the end of the day, the town manager's name is on the FCC license. So the town manager is ultimately responsible to the FCC should something go wrong or bad or the message be considered whatever.
And we have guidelines for that. It's all in the license. But at the end of the day, the EOC director or whoever's in charge of the emergency will probably have a message they want to get out. So that'll need to be recorded as it is now on a PC. It's quite easy. And if the internet is active, then you can just upload it directly to the radio. Today, Carrie Chin does all of that management for us. She has the PC, she has access to the internet, she has access to the radio via the internet, and she does all that. But there are a bunch of us who also know how to do it simply because we were involved in establishing the radio in the first place. You can see it's me, Chris, and Dale, and whoever else wants to be trained. And I would suggest that, and it's real simple, folks, that you just go to a website, you make the recording and you do an upload, which is a pretty typical activity on the web these days. So that's what it's all about. There are certain things that have to be in the message, including the AM radio station identification. So you can't just sort of grab it and say, hey, this is the EOC in Portola Valley. We've got an emergency. You know, you have to actually identify the radio station. This is not out of any protocol problems that the FCC has. And that's really kind of it. Part of really that's the essence of the protocol. Now, when the emergency is over, obviously, we need to put back the generic message or a follow-up message of some sort. And if you think about it for a minute, so you've got an emergency message, there's a fire, and a fire is a dynamic thing and it's rolling. And if that emergency message is playing 3 hours after the fire is out, that's not cool. So if you begin to change the message based on a situation, you need to finish the job. So there's a loop here that you have to conclude. You can't just change the message and forget about it. And that was part of our concern. And again, I'll just conclude by saying the town manager's name is on the FCC license. And so that is the ultimate responsibility. So I suspect at the end of the day, the town manager should authorize what's going on, or whoever the town manager delegates during these moments. That's it.
Any questions from the committee about the protocol, the reason for it?
So
Good job.
Is there a written protocol now that we are going to look at and approve, or is this just for discussion?
This is the protocol. There is nothing else.
There's nothing beyond this, Jerry, that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
Because one of my comments was, it seems like rather than names, we should have positions. So,
Good point.
you know, Carrie Chin, Director of Communication, Ray Rothrock, Chair of the subcommittee on, just so that we.
That's a good idea.
When roles change. Thank you,
It's
Ray.
really,
This is great.
probably anybody on the UT, this is really easy to do. This is trivial. Anybody do it. Now, I should say, if the internet is down, if we're really having a serious emergency and all the comm is down, you have to put a USB stick in the radio, which in the transmitters at my house, and there's a town has a plan. I gave them maps, all this sort of stuff, but that's why we want to get it to a public place where it's easier to get to and people won't feel uncomfortable going on private property. I don't have a problem with it. It's right at the edge of the driveway, but still. But you have to put a USB stick in if you want to change it.
If it's on private property, I mean, on public property, can anybody just put that stick in?
Yeah. If you can unlock the cabinet, yeah.
And how do you unlock the cabinet?
Well, there'll be keys distributed just like there are keys to the EOC and all that sort of stuff, but that's how it would happen. Right now, the cabinet is not locked, but you gotta know where it is. Yeah. It's going to Vic's house next.
I'm just concerned about security.
We thought about that, yeah. It'll have to be a locked cabinet wherever it goes. Yeah.
Could be a combination lock, could be a key lock. I don't, that's TBD. So
Ray, where are the pre-approved scripts? Is that?
we'll have to make some. There'll be some fill in the blanks,
Yeah.
like where it says an evacuation, if there's a fire, if there's a tree falling at Alpine Road
Right.
at 280.
That just our thought there was to make sure, make it easier for whoever is authorizing the message. They can just
Yeah,
fill
they
in
can
the
say,
blanks.
this is fill in the blank, it is this date, this is, WRML 552 AM radio
Exactly.
Portola Valley, and then the message, and then you finish with the same.
I'm just, Chris is looking like this every now and then. He can't hear us.
Oh, well, I'm speaking in the microphone.
So will that come back here, or is
Yeah,
there
we'll just-
kind of just be a book that somehow is online or something?
Yeah, in fact, Dale and I started collecting up the whole FCC file and the conversation we had with the commissioner. And just to that point, the problem we had, we didn't include visitors to Portola Valley in our original message. And this is under the FCC service of Travelers Information Service. And everybody across the country uses it for emergencies, but they also have visitor information, like where to park your car, if you're in an airport or whatever it is. But it's really meant for transient people as well as the local residents. So we've added that message, and the FCC's happy.
Yeah, my only question is if something happened tomorrow. Yeah. And
Yeah, right.
I need a direction book that sort of guides me through all the steps. So
We'll
I
get
know
that together. We don't have it together yet, but you're
Great.
right. We
I
do
think-
need the form.
All this is on target.
We didn't want to get too detailed here because this is kind of a policy thing rather than an implementation thing. So if this is cool, we'll finish with the details.
I would move approval of the policy as written. Second.
All in favor?
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks to the committee and Greg for your help on all this.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Now on to item number 8, which is the charter revisions. If you recall, last meeting, we approved the charter revisions with the caveat that we wanted to change the sentence, the last sentence in item number 8. And I went back and I got talked with Selena, our master of all things. The correct language that she proposed was at least one member of the EPC should be a member of the WPD CERT incident management team. Since CERT is arranged, will be arranged with the incident management team and not just by Portola Valley or Woodside. And I think we're almost covered there. I think Chris has been a member of the incident management team. I think Jerry is a member of the incident management team, and we would recommend others of this group also get involved. So we have more than one, but members of the incident management team, that we are covered on this item. And with that change, I would request that this committee go ahead and.
I have one other comment, if I might, Dale.
Sure.
Just minor, and perhaps it's implicit is enough, but I thought on the objective, it should say specifically, advise the town council and its staff. Because it just says advise and coordinate, and it doesn't really have any object. Again, it's implicit. I don't know if you care about that technicality, but I thought it just might be a little bit clearer of what, who we're advising.
Which specific line are you talking
On the
about?
objective at the very top.
Oh, well, I think when we speak about the town, quote unquote, that includes the town.
Right, it's placed for the
it's
town in the
town
middle of the.
staff And the town representative, so it includes all of the above.
Okay.
Can I just ask Craig, as a council member, if this comes to the council, do you have any thoughts about it?
I think the main thing is when it comes to council, if you can write up something to go with this, of what's the difference between this and your current one.
Will we have a red line?
Yeah,
Was
that'd
with
be
the
great.
packet last time.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you submit the red line and submit this, then the council members will look at it and often these go through the consent calendar. But because I think the committees are important, I've been asking that actually they are just regular agenda items. I think they should get, just even if it's minimal discussion, I just think the committees are important in that sense.
Yeah, no, we have we did the red line last time and now we update the red line. Okay, so do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And thank you all very much. Success from an ad hoc committee. Okay, next. Gary. Committee operations. This was the follow-up to last month's discussion about whether we want to remain a Brown Act committee or move to some other variation. And I was hoping that we could get a sense of the committee today. And we could table it also. People want to continue the discussion, that's entirely possible.
So I'm assuming everyone has read over, thought through, and carefully decided which of these three options are appropriate for the committee. I'm going to just give my opinion that there are just a few too many non-Brown Act committee advantages to ignore. The ability to attend a meeting by Zoom and be an active and voting member, I think, is valuable. There are people here who travel frequently, and if they could not vote on Zoom, then either we lose the benefit of their vote or we may not even have a quorum. I think that the description of the non-Brown Act committee would need to be defined carefully because we don't want to lose the ability for transparency with the community. That's not the goal. The goal is simply to make it easier for the committee to function. And so I'm personally biased towards the non-Brown Act committee with careful thought that actually implements maybe even portions of the Brown Act so that we are sure that the community feels that they're included and able to participate in meetings and get all the information necessary, like an agenda ahead of time and other things like that. So I'm happy to, address any questions. I don't have, I have my copy, but I don't think we have a copy of the document in the pamphlet this month. Go ahead, Rob.
I would agree with you, especially for people that it would make it much easier for them to be able to attend while they're traveling. And we have some key people on this committee that I would like to participate in the drafting of sort of what we agree as transparency, not only to the community, but also within our members here, including issues such as how many people can meet, what we agree to, the difference between an ad hoc subcommittee and what should really be discussed out open. And I think this is a good group. I think that we can come up with a very, very good set of guidelines and rules. I think this also means, how we interact also within this with the town council members and what we do and what we don't do. Some of the things that are spelled out in the Brown Act that I think are very good things to make sure we follow. But I think that you're absolutely right. I think that the overwhelming purpose is to make it so that most people can meet here, but people that can't, such as people that have COVID, which I think is a damn good excuse, can also participate actively.
I don't know, Craig may be able to answer. I think what the council wants to hear, or the subcommittee of the council, is sort of our sense of how we would like to operate. So of the three choices, Brown Act, non-Brown Act, or group, I'm going to propose a vote that we choose the non-Brown Act. Now, within that, I don't know if the council is going to allow us to have our own set of rules, or whether there will be a set of rules for all the committees who choose that. That's something that I guess has to come back to us again from the subcommittee as to whether they want us to draw up our personal opinion of what that might be. Sorry, Craig, keep.
And maybe Craig can answer this too. So having been on this committee since 1999, I never thought about it originally, but today I do. Liability. What's our liability as volunteers and committee members with and without the Brown Act?
Yeah, so we have the committee of committees, which is all the committee chairs or their delegate meeting. So I would absolutely recommend, Rob, write up what you guys think is reasonable. I think the committee of committees is going to have to discuss it, and there are going to be some thoughts of, is it committee by committee, or is it within a class of types of committee? I think it's probably going to be in the sort of like all non-Brown Act committees are going to have the same set of rules. Otherwise, I think it's pretty confusing for the public to understand what's going on. But I think the committee of committee can talk about that, but certainly write up these things. And I would certainly add, I've heard this several times, are there liability issues being non-Brown Act, for instance? So I think making sure that we understand all the consequences and sort of unintended behavior of, because obviously I think we all agree that the good thing is trying to provide more flexibility to volunteer committee members is a good thing. And I think we just want to make sure that in that process, we don't inadvertently create some other, pitfalls. Thanks.
And how, Craig, how will we determine that? Are you going to have somebody look at the legal aspects to advise the committee of committees on that?
Sure. I mean, we'll be able to, I think we're still in that sort of formative stage of trying to pull, are people interested at all? And then if they are, what's the general criteria? Once we get that, we'll talk with the town attorney to say, look, these are the things that have come up. Are there issues here? And then at that point, I think we can come back to the individual committees and say, all right, here's the way we imagine this kind of committee operating. Here's the liability. Here's what it means to meet, that kind of stuff. And then I think we can make sort of some final choices. The final choice is obviously the council's to decide the committee structure, but I think we're really looking to make sure that all the different committees are comfortable with this kind of change if we're going to make it.
I have a question. Is the appointment and removal process of a committee member different depending if you're a Brown Act or a non-Brown Act or a group? And if it's different, would there be less visibility of how things are happening?
Well, again, I think it depends on how we define it. My goal would be no, there shouldn't be less visibility. This is not meant to be let's reduce transparency. This is just meant to provide more flexibility. So I think we may have to write explicit rules to make sure that it stays. The one thing that is true is it's going to change in the sense that the appointment of committee members needs to be done by a subcommittee of the council. Whereas today, it's typically the chair and the mayor meet and kind of agree, but then the mayor is it's with concurrence of the entire council. And anytime the entire council is involved, then it is Brown Act by definition. So that's the reason it's got to be a subcommittee. There's no, we're not trying to do it for any other reason other than to allow it to be non-Brown Act. So, but again, I think we can craft a set of procedures that basically give us very close to what we have in terms of transparency and all the other things, but allow the flexibility.
What are the questions about liability?
What
are the?
Well, the question Ray asked, and I've heard it in other committees as well, is, what is a volunteer committee member's liability, and is it different whether it's Brown Act or non-Brown Act? I think that's the essence of your question. Yeah, Ray? Yeah. I don't know, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to weigh in on this. I'm guessing that it's still all covered by the town in the same way, but that's just my guess. So before we move forward, I mean, we'll get an opinion from the attorney.
And my comments on this, and I'm kind of neutral. I mean, I do like the non-Brown Act because that way we could have Randy and Chris vote on everything. They're on here, so certainly if they said anything, we would certainly pay a lot of attention to them. And the only difference is they can't count for quorum and they can't vote. I would be quite against a non-Brown Act if there were any diminution in our responsibilities or the transparency. And so if the council came up with new guidelines that said, well, you don't have to put full minutes out, you don't have to submit your agenda in advance, you know, and so on, then I would opt for remaining a Brown Act committee, because I think we're important enough, we have significant issues before us that we need to maintain, you know, those kinds of things, you know, that come with the Brown Act.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've heard that might relate to what you're saying is there a non-Brown Act committee, the committee might get to choose the kind of minutes they write. Because for the Brown Act committee, we were trying to basically make them only action minutes to keep them concise and to keep them sort of within the law. Whereas a lot of committees have said, look, we like our sort of long, verbose, but not always perfectly accurate minutes. And so I could imagine for a non-Brown Act committee, it wouldn't be that you couldn't do minutes, but that you might be allowed to have a different style of minutes. You know, like you remember there, we went through that thing about whether you could put times on the sides of the minute, you know. So it might be things like, yeah, if you guys want to put times on the sides of your minutes, if you're non-Brown Act, that's fine. But it's not, I agree with you. I don't think there'll be anything where people will not have an agenda or minutes to go with their.
And they're all recorded now. I mean, if we record every meeting, then even if the minutes aren't detailed,
That's very hard to do. I've done that in the past. I refer to Lynn's minutes all the time, looking at things.
no, I'm just saying if there's a controversial issue and a town member wants to figure out what really was said, they can go to the recording and they can get it. It's not like it's a hidden document.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that the committee will, because there are some committees that don't like the fact that they're being recorded. So, I mean, again, this is a committee of committees where I think there's going to have to be some discussion and some decisions made. Because obviously we got, you know, a wide variety of opinions.
Dale?
Yes, Randy.
Yeah, I have a number of comments related to this, and I've been actively working on documenting the meetings. I actually spent some time last night working on the transcripts for the last 2 meetings using software. So overall, I really agree with the comments in terms of preserving the best parts of the Brown Act, but then relaxing some of the parts that allow us to then work more effectively and efficiently. And I think there's just a huge opportunity to do that now. We can both improve transparency, but even more than just transparency, accessibility. And they're just great tools now to have whatever level of summary you want between the verbatim transcript and very brief minutes. I was using ChatGPT to summarize long interviews and transcripts just over the last couple of days. So I think one of the critical things that we can do regardless of whether the structure changes is really model thorough public engagement. And I think the key part of that is establishing a system to track and answer all questions. This is I think a critical thing that we need to figure out both at the committee level and then also at the town council level, so that all serious, I would like us as a committee to make a commitment regarding, public safety, and particularly as we work on things like the evacuation plan, to track and answer all serious questions and provide a way for the public to engage in that efficiently, and also for us to engage in that efficiently. I think that could be just a huge advance for the entire, system of governance of the town. So the questions don't come in via public comment, one after another, stacked together, and then selectively get answered, that we can have a way to very transparently and accountably track all questions and answers. So that, it may seem like that's a lot of work, but once again, the tools to do this type of thing are just so much better than they were even just a couple of years ago. So I'm really excited about that possibility and just what it will do for the efficiency of our operations, and then particularly for the just engagement with the public. And this will, touch, controversial issues, and people have, a lot of different views about public safety and about what should happen. So I feel like, us as a committee, we're really, great ones to help do this and help figure this out.
I comment on Randy's.
I want to wrap this up. Here
Sure.
quick here.
I'm a little worried about saying that the committee has to answer every question of the public. I could see, I'll make up Ray gives a report and 25 members of the town have detailed questions about it, and Ray's got to go home now and figure out how to answer these 25 people. When the Brown Act committee board that I'm on, basically what we do is we listen to the questions, and those that affect our decisions, we build into the agenda in the future, or we adopt the ideas, but we don't have to respond to every question or comment that the public makes. We just have to listen to that. So that's my only caveat to your thoughts, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand that concern, and I think I do think there are good solutions here that strike that balance. I think it is critical that we track all those questions and that we provide means for the public to efficiently give them. And I think this will actually improve the situation of, say the gadfly problem. And this is a problem, widespread in public meetings. But I think providing these systems will then reduce the frustration and on the part of the public that is asking important questions, but getting where those questions aren't getting answered. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I fully understand that concern, but I do think that there are really good paths forward here that lead to just better outcomes for both us, those of us in the government or town council, and the engaged public.
Could I just then say with it, I would make a motion that we have a subcommittee develop detailed recommendations for a non-Brown Act committee approach to report back to the committee of committees.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Good.
A question on that. Wouldn't it come back to us first?
Yes. Yes.
He didn't say that. He said it would go to the committee of committees.
So it would come back here.
I accept that amendment to my motion.
Okay, Jerry, it's your subcommittee.
Why is it mine? I thought the chairs of the committees had that. I just did this because you couldn't get here that day. Yeah, I'll be happy to do it, but you're on this subcommittee and Rob is going to be on the subcommittee. And if there are others who are interested, you can join us.
Okay. Yep.
And I would add, if Randy's idea is, if you guys can look at what that structure might look like, because the non-Brown Act committees might be a good way to introduce this into the governance process. It might give us an opportunity to try it out and see how it works. And then as it works, we could then expand it to Brown Act committees in the council. So that might be an interesting way to approach it.
So Randy's on the subcommittee too. Okay.
I'd be happy.
Great. Next, Jerry, do you have any update on your zone awareness project?
I am sorry to say that I have still not been able to get a
other than the subcommittee?
No,
You don't
No.
have to decide if you.
no, my motion said that we are going to choose to be a non-Brown Act committee. So if that passes, that makes it automatically our choice. I have not been able to yet get an approval of the invoice to do the printing so I can move forward with the Zone Haven project. Everything is done and in place. And, you know, I've been working with Carrie on this, but she does not have the authority to actually approve the invoice. And with the town staff being already overworked, I haven't felt too appropriate for me to go bang on the door all the time, but I'm still waiting to get approval so I can move forward with final printing. The tags themselves have been ordered and should be arriving. So it's now just getting the letters printed and put in the envelopes and so on, so we can move to the next step.
Or can we get some help on this? Gary.
I'll talk to Corey and Carrie about what the status is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Item that we must do today, or at least I've been told, is our budget for next year. That is in your packet, the nice little budget worksheet. This is what we've been submitting annually. Each year it varies widely depending on, you know, what we have to spend things on. Communications equipment, generally this comes down to support of various radios, the trailer communications. If we have to upgrade the comp closet and the EOC, this would consume most of the budget for the next year. We always put the marketing and outreach. Now that we have a Marcom subcommittee, we can utilize that for this. We were going to use it for Jerry's tags, but they found other funding for that. So that's wonderful. We didn't have to come out of our budget. And then we always have a little bit of training in here. So our annual spending varies widely. Sometimes we use the full budget. A lot of the times we don't, and it just depends on how things come up. I would recommend that we continue to put in the budget about $12,000 annually moving forward. Any questions, discussions?
So move.
I have a question. I mean, if that was the budget last year, do we know what we actually spent?
Yeah, counting raised $6,000 that we authorized last month, because it's going to be in this fiscal year. We're up to about $8,500.
Okay.
Big spender.
Can I speak to this just for a moment? I think one thing for this budget year, we should be maybe a little bit tighter in the sense of, I mean, do we think it's likely we're going to spend this? Because I know what you mean. I've been on the committee for a long time and seen it, you know, go up and down. This particular budget year, there's a lot of expenses coming in. So I think if you guys think there's something critical, make sure that we're aware of what the sort of the floor is on this, because my guess is it may get cut back.
I full well understand. And some of that, Craig, comes into a larger discussion about what we want to do with EOC.
Okay, yeah.
Because if we truly want to have the EOC operating, we need to upgrade all the radios in that,
right,
which is about $6,000 or $7,000. So that's why I think we need to leave it where it is. And once we have the discussion on the EOC, then we can decide whether we need to spend it or not.
Yeah, so we'll have to just figure out at some point before the council starts, you know, paring away.
Yeah. Carrying away. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the budget. Do I have a second? I think we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Very good. Thank you all. We have one more item on here, and that is goals for the year. And this was brought up by our illustrious vice chairman. And I think this is a wonderful idea. And so we don't consume a lot of time tonight, we're going to form another subcommittee. And what I would like is that everybody who is either on another subcommittee or individually have things that they would like to have included on the goals for the year, submit them to Jerry. And then that subcommittee, which is probably going to be Jerry and I, will go through the goals quickly and submit them at the next meeting. Don't spend a whole lot of time just brainstorming around here. So do your individual brainstorming goals for the next, calendar year, things that like I want to put, probably rewrite the emergency operations plan. It's badly out of date. But, we'll see if the committee actually wants to do that.
So these go to you or Jerry?
Send them to
Pardon?
Jerry.
Send them to Jerry?
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the subcommittee under Jerry? Motion.
Thank you, Ray.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Good. The subcommittees work out well for us. We get people involved and we bring it back to this committee and we won't spend 2 hours. We can hit the important items. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Does anybody have anything on the subcommittee reports that they in particular need to bring up or have questions about? Rob?
I would just like to thank Randy True. He's on the evacuation plan subcommittee now. Randy's helped a lot. Also, the Woodside Fire Department has just done an outstanding job of pulling into this, and we're hoping to get this first draft done for everybody's review no later than a month from now.
Yeah. Heavy lift there. Thanks, Rob.
Use the mic.
I think I cannot do the WPB ready because I'm usually working
Okay.
that evening. So I have to step down from that.
Okay. If you have anybody else who wants to be the liaison to WPB ready, please let me know. When do they normally meet? Is it Wednesday nights? Wednesday at 4. Okay. Okay, with that, unless we have any other items that people need to bring up, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you all very much.